Hey, what is up YouTube? Adam back here, and today I have another video. This time it is actually an ARC Trooper backpack tutorial. So I haven't done a tutorial in a very long time, and I figured that I would film this basically since I'm actually going to be making an updated version of my previous one, which also used the ARC backpack from CAC, and just with the clips cut, and you'll actually see, but it's a little bit rushed and it's a little bit inaccurate. So I'm going to try and make just not necessarily completely accurate, but just a simpler and better looking one out of this one for that figure and probably other ARC Troopers to come. So yeah, so for this tutorial and for you guys at home to make this, you're going to need a couple things. You might not actually need the Procreate. It's really optional, and I'll get to that later. But you need a file, you need an ARC antenna from CAC, and you need an ARC backpack from CAC as well. And you need these toothpicks as well, which have these special ends that are kind of they have like multiple layers on them. You can find them pretty much on Amazon, everything here on Amazon, and you'll need something that can cut through plastic, and this is what I like to use. It's called the Open It, and I think that is all the materials. So it's really simple. This is probably one of the easiest tutorials out there, and I hope that you guys will be able to use it. But I'm going to set him aside, and basically step one is to cut off the clips. And if you want the neck bracket, so I'm going to explain. The neck bracket is actually, you want it if you like how it looks for elevating the height of the whole figure itself. For my Battlefront 2 ARC Trooper, I actually just painted on the black on the actual neck itself. And this was to keep the height relatively accurate and just so it doesn't make it look too tall. And it's really up to you if you want to keep that, but you're going to have to cut off the clips either way because they're really not even accurate, but they are good if you want to hold some weapons, I guess. But yeah, so you're going to just put this up against the edge, clamp down, and that's gone. And then put this up against the other edge. Just get it very close. You want to be careful. I wasn't as careful as I should have been, but yeah, you can see we got a pretty clean cut. Not as clean as I would have liked on the bottom, but on this side we got a really clean cut. And you can start this with any color because you're going to paint it black afterwards if you want to, or at least I am. So what you want to do next is you want to soften this edge since it'll leave a lot of residue. So you want to take your file, you can use sandpaper as well, and you just want to start basically scratching at it. I'll probably be doing this for a couple minutes. Alright, so here it is. We pretty much just got rid of all the markings where the clips were. You're going to see, it doesn't really matter that there's leftover gray or white there from where the actual clips were, since you're just probably going to paint over it anyway. If you want to, I would suggest just painting over it. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier, but and also, like, do not cut the neck bracket before you sand those, just because it makes it a lot harder to actually sand. But yeah, as we have noise, sorry about that. As we cut that, we're also going to file down this piece just because I don't like having the neck bracket on there. You can obviously keep it if you like it. It just elevates the height a little bit too much for my liking, but and like, if you don't know what I mean, just compare the heights of your figures, like Mandalorians, for example. If you want it to be accurate, you should cut off the neck bracket and just like have a magnet on the inside of the jetpack and then one on the back, which makes it a lot easier. but you can also glue it on there, and it gives it a more accurate height. But anyway, so let's begin the sanding of this backpack. Alright, so now that it's smooth, you can see what's left over, but it's totally smooth. That is the basic part of it. Pretty much just getting rid of all the excess. And I want to make the point that this is not an entirely accurate backpack, even when it's done, just simply because if it was totally accurate, it would have a lot more space for there's supposed to be 2 rectangles right to the right of the circle, but it's just that you can't fit them there without pushing everything over. Then you have to widen the backpack. It makes it really complicated, and I'm just trying to make something simple for you guys. But anyways, so the next step is pretty much just to take the end of one of these toothpicks. You can see I already cut out a piece here. You want to measure, basically, you want it so on the actual ARC backpack itself, the end here sticks down just a tad farther than the actual backpack, and you want it just to be like that, and then you want to hold it in place, and you want it to be right at the top. So you mark with your Sharpie about right there, and you cut right underneath that. So yeah, that's how I did that, in case you're wondering, and that's where I got the shape. And you're gonna need some super glue, which I actually didn't bring over here yet, but here it is. And literally, you can paint beforehand if you really want to get all the edges like in there, because there are some gaps where you're probably not going to be able to get the black paint, but you're really not going to be able to see that at all, just because they're so tiny. There's like, you're not going to be able to see that basically. And pretty much that's just that. You literally just put your glue, you take that, and you just get a little bit on there on the edges. Then you just push it up against that edge right there. Push it down a little bit, and you can see there we have the first part. Like I said, not totally accurate, and when you cut your toothpicks, you're going to want to sand it down on the edges, just a tad. I sanded this down mostly, just to keep the edges from poking up, but yeah, that is that. So that is the middle part, or 1 out of 2 pieces, I guess, of the backpack that you're going to put on there. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your ARC antenna. You're actually going to cut off the ends of this, just like that. It's very easy. And the side of the backpack has this weird hose thingy, and that's what the shape is going to represent. Since I couldn't really think of anything that would be better to represent that, and it fits really nicely, like right on the edge here. It's like the perfect size. And what you're actually going to need, though, is like a relatively sorry about that. What you're actually going to need, though, is a little bit of Procreate, because as you can see, there's definitely a difference in the height, and you want this to actually be taller than this piece. So yeah, it's a little bit tricky, but you're going to want to take your Procreate if you have it, or you can just get another ARC antenna and cut it and glue it. It might not be as smooth, I would say, but you're going to want to take your Procreate, do this. Yeah, you're just going to want to take a little bit. You're going to want to roll it to create a long little pole, essentially, which is where the extra height for this last piece is going to come from. Just going to want to keep rolling it. Okay, now that we got it relatively the same width, it might actually be a little bit too thin. Just want to cut very slightly an edge. And that should be good. Might want to flatten the edge just a little bit, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna take another toothpick and you're gonna want to glue that on the top, but we'll get to that later. And you'll see that now it is about the same width, which is good because the last piece is what really makes it longer anyways. So we're gonna let this dry and we'll come back and definitely don't want to glue this on right now, but you're gonna let this dry and harden, and then you're gonna do the final step before painting it. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, so now that we've given that about 2 hours to harden, the Procreate seems to be staying in place, which means that we can move on to the next step, which is actually the final step in the pre-painting process. And that is simply to actually cut off this tip part right here, which I already did as well. Take another toothpick, just cut it off, and it creates this really nice sort of knob shape, which works really well for the shape that we want to go on top of this. And this is the final detail. It's not perfect, but it is a quick and easy way to get that shape. So yeah, so if you go ahead and cut that, then you can finally glue on this. You want there to be space in between, basically, the two pieces, just a little bit. Then you take your piece right here. I may have to sand this down just once or twice. Let's file it down. We got a pretty good shape right there. And then you just very tip top of this piece, and you simply just go like that. And there you have it. So yeah, it's pretty cool, honestly. I definitely like this a lot better than my previous design. Obviously, like I said, it's not perfect in that it's not completely 100% accurate, but the overall shaping is good enough to where it's simple enough to where a lot of you can do this too. And the only thing left to do now would be to actually paint it black, which means that we're gonna have to tape it down, or actually I think what we're gonna do to hold it while we're painting it is actually just go like that. Then you can hold it like that while you paint it, or if you want to already glue it on and try and paint it. I don't recommend that entirely, but just because you could accidentally make a lot more mistakes on trying to paint the actual or I'm not trying to paint the actual figure, but yeah, this works too. Just taking a little bit of electric tape, if it doesn't fall off, you might want to glue it on here just for on one spot, which is what I'm going to do, and I will paint this up, and I will see you guys in a little bit. All right, so now it's all painted, we'll need it we'll leave it to dry for just a little bit. Apple barrel dries pretty fast, and then you can just, if you still have the neck bracket on, you need to paint that as well. But other than that, that is the entire tutorial. Alright, so now that it has dried, you can see the full design pretty much. I think it came out really nice, and it's definitely usable, and I really like how this came out. And if you put it on the back of a clone trooper, just hold it in place. The proportions are really good. The sides look nice. Overall, it works really well. And there's enough room for the helmet to move around, as you can see, because that's about where you'd want it to glue on. Just at the top of the torso, no farther. And yeah, I mean, I hope you guys actually like this tutorial. It was a little bit out of nowhere. I just decided that I needed to make this backpack, and I figured that I should let you guys know how to as well if you want to, in a pretty simple way, honestly. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more. And this is goodbye, and have a nice day.